Yeah, the mics are on. I
Okay.
tested those. All right. Well, we had a double intro, so gave everybody time to join in. Let me know if you guys can't hear us for some reason or if there's some problem. But as you can see, Joe is not here. But thankfully, we were able to snag Tim Santos with Health Markets to come and be our special guest today. So we're going to be talking response time. So that could be response time with the expectation for your clients, employees, business partners, um, anything in between. So, Tim, why don't you introduce yourself? I mean, everybody probably knows you already at 216 The Net since you have a show.
Yeah, co-host of Let Me Tell You Something, Brother, with Tom Odell of Tom's Productions. You can find us here 2 Tuesdays out of the month. The dates are escaping me right now, but yeah, been a guest on this show before and other shows as well. But Tim Santos from Health Markets Insurance, half of the Santos Agency with my lovely wife, Sally.
All right. So, as we were kind of talking in the green room, we were talking about different types of response times. Where do you want to start with? What do you think is probably like the easiest one? Do you think it's clients or do you think it's business partners?
Well, in our case, we actually have a lot of that kind of intertwined, but let's start with clients.
Okay. So typically, so on our website and in our contract that we send out to our clients, we have that it says that we'll have like a response time of 48 to 72 hours, business hours.
Mm.
So it's in our contract and we put it in there. But I feel like sometimes people forget the difference between business hours and non-business hours as to when that clock starts.
Yeah, so we don't have it. It's not we don't have contracts, obviously, you know that, but we do have business hours. So, our best practice is that, once a voicemail is left, if it's after hours, they are kind of bumped to the head of the line of people we contact within the next 24 to 48 hours. Really just kind of dependent on the urgency of the call. Some are just simple questions that we can knock out right away. Some may require an appointment that we actually have them come in. Or, we just do the best that we can to get to them. But usually within 48 hours after that point, I kind of, fear that they've maybe, especially if they're a new prospect, that maybe they've moved on to someone else who has answered the phone or gotten back to them within that time. But current clients, usually within, 24 business hours, will be back with them.
All right. Well, that sounds pretty average then. I'm
Yeah.
trying to put the thingy. Oh gosh, can you read the words up there?
I see sexy guest today. So yes, I can read those words. Can't read any of the other ones though.
All right, there we go. We got the link. So hi Sally. I'm assuming that sexy guest was meant for
Might have been. Might have been. It was either her or Tom.
Okay, Janice, I posted the link just now to access through Yardstream. So if anybody wants to join us live Zoom, you're more than welcome to click on the link and share some stuff about your businesses and your response times and procedures, either on Facebook or 216 The Net or Uncle Pete. So there we go. I got that to work.
Yeah. Well, good. Good job. Good job. We are Sans producer today, so Steph is doing double duty, and you're doing a good job.
I get nervous.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I've had clients where they will call me, text me, and then email me all within an hour. They'll call and leave a voicemail, then they'll send a text maybe 5 to 7 minutes later saying, "Oh, I left you a voicemail."
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll shoot me an email with the question later versus calling my office where my staff is usually there in the building and they could probably answer any of the questions or close to any of the questions.
Yeah, we do get that on occasion where the phone is ringing. I can literally see their name, come across our caller ID. If they are a long time client of mine, they may have my cell phone where I'll get a text to like, hey, or they've tried to call my cell phone already and my voicemail says, if this is related to insurance, please call our office at this number.
Uh-huh.
So I'll get a missed call from that. And then I'll get a missed call at the office from that same person. Sometimes a text message that they're trying to get a hold of me. And then the voicemail will say, I sent you an email. So it's like, well, give me a chance to respond. They
Right.
don't even give me a chance to respond before they've already called twice, text, left a voicemail, and sent an email. And
Well,
it's usually something like very simple and non-urgent.
yeah, well, I also think that people forget too, like when they come to your office to do the initial consultation meeting. Because when I came to your office to do a consultation, I was there for roughly 20 to 30 minutes, outside of other miscellaneous stuff, but
Sure.
the actual consultation. So just thinking on average, the minimum it would take you to get back to somebody would be 30 to 45 minutes.
At least, yeah. So we even schedule an hour for every appointment, and that's intentional because some of them run long and some of them are short, but it does give me an opportunity that is scheduled away time to respond to that voicemail when there's already been time set aside for somebody else, so
Right.
then the next appointment comes in at the next hour. And anyhow, yeah, some clients, the urgency that they put on themselves for non-urgent things, sometimes we just have to touch base with them and be like, this can actually be handled on Monday. Like, you don't need to call and text and leave a voicemail and an email on Saturday morning.
Yeah,
Like,
I guess one of the perks that we have is that we can do a emergency rate. So if somebody has an emergency and they want me to work on a Saturday, so for example, when we had the McHenry Scramble, and I was there and we had like a 10-minute whatever those were, like little in between breaks, I took a call and the lady wanted me to work on that Saturday and get her file done. It was a brand new client, whatever. And I said, sure, but you're going to have to pay our Saturday rate versus our weekday rate. And I let people know that my Saturday rate is a lot different.
Yeah. So you have that luxury.
Yeah.
Our rate is always the same, which is 0. So it's really up to us when we choose to work. But what I will say this is when Sally joined us 3 years ago, joined our family business now, she put a lot of policies and procedures, processes in place. And it's usually the mistakes occur when I'm answering something off business hours, when I'm checking email on Saturday morning and I'm responding to somebody, or I don't like texts or calls to my cell phone, yet I on occasion will answer via text or call from my cell phone. So when I go outside of our own process is usually when a mistake occurs or something happens, or obviously I'm opening up that door to something I don't even want. So I shouldn't be responding via text or from my cell phone when I don't want them called. Right.
Because then the expectation is set that you're gonna respond.
Yep. Correct. And respond at, all hours or any day of the week. And that's just not how it works.
Oh, Sally says that she wishes that you guys had a rate that weekend rate.
Like any rates.
That little extra. Hi, Mom. And but yeah, that's the luxury that I have in that aspect. For if people want their deliverable expedited above other people that are already waiting. But I know that like people that do emergency services, just like Joe or it looks like Janice is joining in. I think Janice, can you hear us?
I can. I'm having technical issues on my end, so hopefully you can hear me.
Oh yeah, we can hear you. Yep. Hi, Janice.
Hi. I know Stephanie, but I've never met you, Joe. So nice to meet you.
I'm not Joe. I'm Tim. I'm filling in.
Sorry, Tim. I heard that at the beginning, but Joe's name is in front of my face.
Well, nice to meet you.
So, Janice, why don't you do a little intro on your business? You're still doing the advertising, right?
Well, I do marketing. So how I know Stephanie's, I used to do promotional items. Because of COVID, I changed and I help people with their online presence. Things like making sure their Google business listings claimed, their Yelp business is claimed, if they have one. I don't encourage people to do Yelp if they don't need it. And looking at what they have online, because if they created a Facebook page in 2012, but they never used it, let's make it go away, because an old Facebook page makes it look like you don't exist, where if you don't have it all, then people assume, oh, they just don't do Facebook. So I help people with that kind of online interactions, or finding old yellow pages listings that come up and give an 800 number that went away a gazillion years ago. So making sure you have that right information.
And then, okay, cool. And then what is an average response time for you guys, for your clients when they email or call you?
So normally what I try to do is if an email comes in and I don't have time to respond, I will reply and say, I've received your email and I will get back to you, and then give them a time length. So I don't have a stated time of response in general, as a matter of course. But if I see an email and I don't have time to deal with it in a moment, I try to set expectations of, I'm out of town and I will get back to you Thursday unless this is an emergency. I'm here. And if you don't hear from me on Thursday, feel free to text me then. So setting the expectation where they understand what my availability is. If I have a client that I'm working on a contract with, then those ones will usually get an immediate response. If for some reason I don't see my email, because I don't have notifications turned on my emails because I get way too many, then I do allow them to text me. So I had heard you, Stephanie, when you said that you have a customer who will call you and then text you and email you. Yeah, I do find that annoying, but I have set the expectation. If you have emailed me and you don't hear from me within a couple of hours, then you are free to text me and say, hey, I did send you an email. But I have to be working with them in a contract space at that time, because I have a lot of clients who just contact me randomly. And for those random ones, it's, am I available to talk? Am I not available to talk, or answer their question?
Right. I know that we, a few shows ago, we did a show on emergencies and stuff. And I know that the three of us have all kind of used that word. And how do you clearly articulate to a client what is a real emergency versus what is like just a moment of panic?
So us, when we're doing our initial consultation, or Sally does a lot of the front end work here, where when she's talking with them on the phone initially, is with the world of health insurance or Medicare or what have you. Typically your policy or plan isn't starting until the first of the following month. Whether we meet on the 1st of March or the 31st of March, it's not starting until April 1st. So there's no, although you may have a sense of urgency, like, hey, I just really want to get this taken care of. That's, urgency on your part, but the emergency aspect of it is whether we do it now or later, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't start until April 1st anyways. Mm-hmm. So a lot of it is like, for us, is talking clients off the ledge. Like there's like, you don't get a discount by doing this, making a knee-jerk reaction tomorrow. Like, let's set up a time. Everything will be just fine, whether we meet now or we meet later. It can't start till April 1st anyways, or what have you. So we do set those expectations when we're even setting the initial appointment. Like some people, like we have people that say, I'm retiring, 2 years from now, I need to come and see you about my Medicare coverage. Like, okay, that's, a 24 month, a lot is going to happen with the next 24 months. Meeting now is not going to solve anything. We're going to have to definitely meet again, obviously, when it comes closer. So we do a lot of that upfront conversation, like just kind of talking them off the ledge. Like, it's not as urgent as you think it is. Let's just work at a pace that is doable for both of us, where it makes sense to meet and discuss when we can actually take action on some of these things that you feel so urgent about.
Yeah. Oh, we have a question. So it says, if all clients get an immediate response, how do you maintain a work-life balance and therefore the quality of service you give to your clients? This is a question for the guest that joined. I've had processes like that in the past that I can't see. And
I find that they're not sustainable or inconsistent, because sometimes the reality is you cannot respond immediately.
So I think that's for you, Janice.
It's a long question. She's long-winded, that
So,
listener.
um,
She's beautiful, but long-winded.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand that, you know, so you guys are right. In most cases, there's not a true emergency in the context of me trying to have to respond. It is panic on the part. So it's trying to have a conversation to find out, you know, is this panic? Is it something that's really an emergency? Some of the stuff I used to do, there could be quote urgencies in the fact that they're going to miss a deadline to get something produced in time for an event. So it would be a semi-emergency, but the reality is it truly an emergency if your pens didn't come in for your event? Or was it the fact problem? For what I do now today for emergencies, rarely is it truly an emergency. I have had some situations where somebody was trying to fix things, and for Google, you do have windows of time to solve problems. For they decide your Google listing's going and you can't retrieve it back. So there is some time sensitivity and having to be aware of that, because after a certain amount of time, when something's deleted, it's deleted forever and you can't get that back. So I've had an emergency situation where people had duplicate Google listings and we were trying to merge them, and Google decided, no, they can't be merged. So we said, okay, let's delete this one. It doesn't have any reviews. Somehow, for whatever reason, even though the person reread, delete the one with no reviews, the one with all the good reviews got deleted. Well, that became an emergency, but not a 5-minute emergency. It was a couple of days emergency. I can't remember that we had to resolve it and get it back. So the definition of emergency is a little longer time period. You know, personally, if somebody's not going to die, then it's not an emergency. You know, that's usually make things. So it is more of a panic on the customer's part, but we're trying to support somebody's business and making sure their Google business listing came back with the one with the reviews. We did have a response time, but she was trying to do trying to look for these emails coming from Google, and because where I don't see them. So she had to do the work. So she was panicking because she's getting the messages, but she has her other part of her job to do too. So she would be like, now what do I do? Now what I do? And because I knew they were having a problem, I'm just text me when you get the next one. Just text me when you get the next one.
Right. So I
Does that help?
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
I know that all of us have been at various, networking events and seen other business partners, and and then that kind of starts, in theory, the referral process where these business partners will refer you, clients, etc., or you'll refer them clients. Or is your response time to your business partners the same as clients, or not? And I'll answer first. My answer is no. I will respond to clients faster, depending on the time of the year, than I will to business partners, because I have a live contract with them and I have to get them answered immediately. Well, I don't want to neglect anybody and damage my relationship with any of my business partners, but they might be more on like a 2-day response time versus like a day. But that's kind of how I do it. I don't know if that's the right way or the wrong way, but
yeah, we don't place any, additional sense of urgency to respond to a business referral from a business partner. We take the same approach as we would with anybody. And we do, kind of evaluate the referral being had. So in some cases, like I said earlier, it's, this so-and-so is retiring in November and it's January or, February. And yes, they want the information, but there's plenty of time to get to that person. It's not, again, the sense of urgency is not like we need to get you in next week to keep you or have you as a future prospect. we'll reach out. But it doesn't mean that they're going to be sitting down with me next week just because it was a business referral. Now we do make sure that regardless of that situation that they do hear from us, though, again, within the same type of time frame that a new client would, within 48 hours or what have you, the next business day, if we can get to them. But they don't take any precedent over any just walk-in client or someone who calls us. It doesn't really there's no difference.
I mean, like, because a lot of times, well, I shouldn't say a lot of times, but some of the times, like my business partners, they're calling to ask me a question about QuickBooks, the software, and not that every call has to be a referral,
Sure.
But they're calling to ask me, like, to pick my brain about it, and I just need to make sure that I handle my, paying clients first before I let somebody pick my brain, since I don't charge for any like education or anything like that.
Yeah, we get that too, where we'll have business clients who have health insurance through like their spouse's employer, or they're offering benefits, or we know that they're taken care of already. They're just have questions, and we're happy to answer those questions. But at that point, it's kind of like when we get to you, when we've already taken care of our current book of business or new clients, we'll see you when we see you, or you can set up a time to come in and talk to us, and you'll have my undivided attention then. But it gets pushed back a little bit, like, this is just some general questions. It's definitely no urgency there.
Yeah. And what about you, Janice? How do you approach your business relationships versus your client relationships? Is it the same or slightly different?
We're losing Janice a little bit.
So for colleagues or referral partners, networking partners, it depends what they're trying to contact me about. If it's for a referral, attention to it, be quicker. If it's for, hey, help me with this, because I do get a lot of pick your brain, help me with this, I'll say, yeah, I can help you, but it's going to be tomorrow at that time, or it's going to be later at that time. They do not get the kind of response for help unless it's a referral. So it depends what the question is. And I don't think I have a stated response time with them versus customers who have my office cell. So those are two different numbers, and some of them have my personal cell, so they're going to get me all day long.
And then I guess, what about employees? Because I know that you guys are on the cusp of hiring somebody that's not a spouse.
Sure.
So I try and give my staff my schedule so they know where I'm going to be at, what meetings I'm going to be in, and things like that. So if they need to, because all of our login credentials are two-step verification, so it all goes to me. So when they're logging into certain things, it like my phone number is the only phone number that makes sense for it to go to, because it's not like I could give it to an employee's phone number, and then if they leave, then I'm screwed and I can't get access. So sometimes I give them my schedule in advance, so this way then they don't send me codes when I'm in the middle of a meeting. Not saying that that's a perfect system that works all the time, but have you ever had to or would you ever step out of a meeting? I mean, I know in your former life you managed like a whole team of people. Yeah.
So we, I set the tone by saying, I'm not gonna, if it's a non-emergency, so my previous, my history is restaurant managing. So, I would always get phone calls when I wasn't on the clock, but that's because I was the general manager. So if there was something that was urgent in that industry, it's literally urgent, needs to be taken care of right then. But we did have plenty of conversations of what is urgent and what's not, and can it wait until I come in later in that day, or can it wait until my next day that I'm, at the restaurant? So, in the future, when we do decide to hire someone, we would kind of take that same approach. Is this something that you need an answer for right now, or can the answer wait until I'm in the office tomorrow or the next time you see me? And it's going to take some growing pains with that for them to understand what it is. But again, in our industry currently, there's there's not true emergencies. There's people who go to the emergency room and are like, hey, what's my insurance going to do? But even that is, look, the bill is going to be the bill. Whether you know what it's going to cost or not, they're going to charge you the same. So it doesn't really matter what it's going to be. It just is. Right. You go to the emergency room. I'll help you from that point. But also being that I'm not the insurance carrier, I'm the broker that helps you pick your plan. There's only so many questions I can answer anyways. And nothing billing wise and things are things that I can assist anybody with.
Right.
So anyways, the same rules would apply when we bring someone on board. Is like, take the information. We'll get back to that client as soon as we can. Which will likely be the next time that I'm in the office. And then the same thing with that employee, from employee to employer relationship. Unless it's, I need to leave, earlier than scheduled because whatever the reason is, then right. There's no real reason,
I just feel like if I give you my schedule and I'm going to be in a meeting from like 3 to 4, like don't text me right. Unless the building's on fire.
Sure.
And if you knew that
even then, hey, call the fire department first, call 911.
But like, if you knew that like I was going to be there in the meeting, like either text me, like send me the code prior to the meeting sure. Or look at your schedule and see if there's something else you could work on until I get out of the meeting.
Yep.
Like, I don't know. Sometimes like when I tell like my kids I'm going to the grocery store and do you need anything or want anything? And they're like, no. And then I come home and it's like, oh, well, you didn't buy,
right.
This. And,
yeah.
Oh, you didn't buy Pop-Tarts. But I'm like, there's a box of Pop-Tarts in the cabinet. They're like, no, it's empty. Well, who leaves an empty box in there?
Kids. Kids do. And some adults.
So it's just like, and then the answer I get is, well, this way then you don't forget what my favorite brand is.
Sure. I think, so from like a hiring standpoint or employer-employee relationship, that some of that stuff can also be kind of created in like an employee handbook or some sort of, contract when you're onboarding someone that, we will, the contact information and when you're in a meeting, it's like, it's just going to have to wait until the meeting's done.
Right.
I mean, hey, even the fire in the building, unless you work for the fire department or going to come put the fire out, I mean, get the problem handled the best you can. And then I will address what I can when I'm in next.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Janice,
how about you, Janice?
Is she frozen? I think she's frozen.
Or she's thinking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Now we can hear you. Yes.
There's technical issues on my end, and I try to. Employees are always a challenge. It truly is. You need a plan around. I've said I'm going to be here, not going to be here. We actually have a contractor working in our kitchen. Currently, he's not here, but he told us ahead of time. But he would have questions, and some of them are small or large. Do you want to not be answered by my husband? So I would tell him every day, I'm going to be here from this time to this time. You got to ask your questions then. And so he would learn to plan around asking me those questions. But it's very important to learn how to do that in life for everybody. It should be a skill everybody has. You can't sit and wait and do nothing. Do your work, whether you're an employee, employer, or just a human being.
Right. So we were also talking in the green room about just being like industry specific, answering the phone and stuff. Because I know that most of the time when I'm like, oh, how'd you hear about me when I answer the phone? Or like there's been times where I answer the phone and people are like, oh, you're like the first person to answer the phone out of the 6 people I've called that I found on Google. And then since I answered the phone, then I have a greater chance of closing the deal than not. But do you ever get like anxious? Like I know I used to, but as my business has grown, I don't get as anxious on like a Saturday or Sunday when someone calls and they go to voicemail. And then like I will call them back on Monday because I've learned the hard way that those people calling on Saturday and Sunday will suck up your time. And then they're just like a tire kicker most of the time and they don't respect your time. So I kind of started pushing it to Monday callback.
So one of the best things that I've ever done from a business standpoint was open up an office line and disconnect my cell phone from my clients. My voicemail says to call the office with any questions. And although that does relieve like interruptions during the weekend, it causes extreme anxiety for what voicemails I'm walking into on Monday. And usually I'm walking into like people who want to set appointments because they heard Sally on the radio or they're being referred by a friend or a neighbor or whatever. Rarely is it like a client question or issue, because we pride ourselves in taking care of all that stuff up front, you know, kind of answering everyone's questions, how this all works. But the anxiety that I have seeing the voicemail like light flashing on our answering machine at the office, Sally can attest to this. Like if she's in the middle of something and the phone rings and it goes to voicemail and I see that light flashing, as much as it pains me to do it, I like have to press the button. I have to hear what the question is, what's going on. I cannot let it flash, where Sally is better skilled at that than me. And she'll, you know, again, she knows the sense of urgency and non-sense of urgency better than myself, and can let things kind of sit until she's ready to get to them. Where I'm like, we need to get to them now, even though like it may not be urgent.
Right.
I cause my own urgency. I don't know, like I can't go home for the day if there's voicemails. I can't go home if there's unanswered emails. Like that's my job. Right. So, but once that's done, I'm good to go.
I mean, like I like emails versus phone calls.
Oh yeah.
So like sometimes people will leave me a voicemail and then I'll send them an email instead of calling them back.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like it's faster though, because sometimes my days are like back to back to back to back meetings. And if I have that 5-minute thing and I could clearly articulate an answer where it's not like a big deal, then I feel like an email's fine and safe. And I don't think people get offended. I mean, we haven't lost a client because of it. So.
Yeah, I haven't had any sense of offending anybody. And I personally would prefer answering questions in email because then I have the paper trail. Because a lot of what I tell people can get misinterpreted, or they'll say, no, you said this. Like, no, then I can go right back to that email and they're like, oh yeah, you did send me that email, or, oh yeah, you did answer the question that way. So I actually prefer that as a method of me responding to client questions.
Well, especially with how many people you talk to in a day during like your Super Bowl season.
Oh yeah.
Like, how do you even remember?
So you know what? It's crazy because like when people walk into our office, I'll remember every interaction I've ever had with them and the conversation we've had without even taking notes, to my detriment, actually, because I'll remember the conversation and there's no note of it. So like when Sally's talking to them, she doesn't see that we've already had this conversation, but I'll remember the specifics of the conversation I've had with like everybody. And so we have created a system. We use a CRM to make sure that we are logging all of our notes. So for all those interactions. And so when I do miss or get a voicemail or an email, we log the notes. So when they call back, because they always do, and Sally answers the phone, she can look at the notes and say, okay, Tim said this, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So anyways, having a process in place for that is key as well.
Yeah. Our CRM pulls in everybody's Outlook emails.
Oh,
so
cool.
If I email a client or Valerie or Melanie and it's all the same client, you can see it all in the stream, all of the things that were said.
Cool. I think our Gmail, I don't know, like when we set an appointment through it, because we use our Google Calendar, it'll show all the emails that we've had with that client too.
Oh, well,
that's kind of cool.
Okay, so you're up now. Read it.
All right. So Sally Santos says, what I was trying to say is the perception that there's an emergency is set by the client or employee. Our process in our office helps us level set with our clients and employees if we had them. And I think in many cases, the process establishes the consistency, which gives us comfort, which gives comfort to the client and eliminates the emergency, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, scroll. Wrong way.
Okay. His anxiety should not be there, though, because our process protects everything we do. He puts that anxiety on himself. Having an office phone does not put the anxiety on him. Just saying, LOL. Yeah. So no, you're right. It is me. But it's just the fact that I just want to make sure that everyone is taken care of to the best that I can take care of them within our process and business structure, because I don't want to have something sitting there or unanswered where our clients then feel the need to call a competitor. Like if they can't get the answer from me, then maybe they're going to call someone right down the street from me or right around the corner or whatever, or feel that we're not providing the service that we've already promised them. So like if we're not there on the weekends, it's fine. We don't work during the weekends, but I want to make sure that their answer is taken care of or their question is taken care of as quickly as possible on Monday morning, so they can feel and sense my sense of urgency for them, that we weren't here for you on the weekends and we said we weren't going to be, but I did tell you I'd be here at 9 a.m. on Monday. So, expect your answer within those first couple hours on Monday morning. So that's all.
Do you guys do time blocking for emails during your busy season? Like, do you put in your schedule, like respond, like, or maybe like Sally might do it, put it in.
Yeah, she'll put notes there to like call back a client, or because they have this question, she'll add it to my calendar. Like, hey, before you leave today, make sure you call X, Y, and Z person, whatever it is. During our busiest season though, so our business hours are 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. like basic Monday through Friday. But we work before or after by appointment. But I'm always there during that time by like 7 a.m. anyways, to give myself a couple hours to prepare for the day. No, but that's my time. So it's just kind of like a built-in clock where I have a couple hours in the morning to have my coffee and answer emails, and then kind of proceed with the regular scheduled appointments for the day.
Yeah, because I know that during, like, now that we're in the middle of tax season now, and we're starting to get busier and busier, I have to block out part of my day. At least 2 days out of the week, I try and block out like an hour and a half to respond to emails. Or if Valerie and Melanie are saving up kind of some questions that are preventing them from finishing a file, then that gives them, like I say, like, okay, you can get me from 9 a.m. till 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday. So you guys better be ready to hit it with all these questions, and let's get it done. And then I block it out, and I won't take appointments during that time.
Yep. Yeah, we do things like that. We block out lots of different things. Even drive time, if I have an offsite appointment, she'll block out, make sure like we don't schedule anything during that time. What does Maggie have to say?
Oh, goodness. We have a lot of comments. So what does Maggie say?
You need me to read it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't see that far away.
I'm surprised I can, to be honest. Okay.
I have LASIK.
Yeah. If you do not want to work on weekends, do not teach your clients that you will pick up the phone during those days. Learn that real quick, unless of course it's an emergency. So yeah, Maggie, that's kind of what we're talking about, is the response time and like emergencies and things like that. One thing that I think, I was just thinking of this, that banks have taught us, because people need money like all the time, right? Even on the weekends, but the banks aren't open on Sundays, right? They're not open on Saturday afternoons. So you prepare. If you need, well, obviously there's ATMs, but if you need to do something at the bank, then you go during their hours.
Right.
So there's nothing saying that you can't set hours and be functional during those hours that you promise people that you'll be open, and people either they can accommodate it or they can't.
Right.
But if they really need your service, then they'll find a way to fit within your schedule. You do not need to go outside of your normal hours.
Yeah, I know that when we had, because we don't get a lot of walk-ins from where we're located. But one day we got a walk-in, and like it shut down the whole office. We were all confused because you're in the middle of it. And then we had to but then I'm like, do I like schedule a time for them to come back? But they're already here, but I really need to finish what I was doing. But that's not it was like I was so conflicted because it was like our first walk-in ever since opening our business. So I was like, so don't just walk in. I mean, like, if you want to walk in to say hi, totally do it. But call me before.
We get that. We get that.
I know I've popped in at your office.
Yeah, being on Green Street. But we'll have, people so we have a sign that says walk-ins welcome.
Oh, but because appointment only.
But so we function by appointment only, but you can walk in and then Sally's going to take your information and set up an appointment with you. Like, you don't have to call.
Oh, so you that's how it works.
That's how it works. So even if someone calls me and they're like, hey, blah, 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 it never fails. So number one, in our industry, there's no make and model. So everyone's age is different, sex is different, family size, income, doctors, everything is different. So we get people that will call and say, I need a quote for this. Well, we're not progressive, so you can't tell me I have a 2002 Chevy Cavalier with 200,000 miles and I need blah blah blah. Like, this doesn't work like that.
Right.
So even if it's going to be a phone appointment, which we frown upon and don't really like because that's not our model, it'll be like, okay, well, you need to set up a time. I will call you back. Number one, it helps me get in my mindset, like get some information and get ready to service that person versus whatever I was just working on, like kind of clouding my mind to not be fully focused on the person who has the question. So it's actually not good service for me to provide things on the fly. Okay. And honestly, with anyone, if you just call them up and like, hey, blah, 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 give me a quote. Like what? How can anyone really function that way? I don't know.
Yeah, I guess like, cause we have like a set list of questions that I kind of ask, probably similar to what you do. Like, and so when it's on the fly and I'm like deep in the middle of something and then I stop to do that, I feel like sometimes I don't ask. Like one time I forgot to ask for an email, but I needed to send them a proposal. Yeah. So then I had to go find it. So then I didn't want to call them back because I felt like embarrassed. Yep. So then I found their website for their business and then I found the email and then like I emailed them from there, but I don't know. Yeah. That's just a whole thing. So, okay, you're up again. We got to get through some of these comments.
All right. So she says, but you have the patience with the sale, and she gets very anxious about that. You're always calm and cool with the client. Let them think, I believe. And I get antsy about that. That's why we make a great team. So, yeah.
And then what did Janice say? I think she was having technical difficulties, so she had a...
managing our own anxiety and stress as to what is emergency or a good response time. What's the next one? I can't see that.
Oh, the comment thing. Oh, there we go.
Lots of comments.
I know. We're slacking.
Where are we at? Okay.
So we need to set our boundaries and schedule to support those. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, it seems like we have a lot of listeners agreeing with a lot of the stuff we've been kind of saying and saying, yeah. So Janice is saying that she does the blocking of her calendar and puts stuff in like we were saying that we do as well. I always keep going the wrong way with these mouse.
No one talks to Tim directly. Sally's the gatekeeper. And that's she feeds my ego by making people go through her first.
Yeah. I know because one time I like totally messed up. And I roundhouse Sally, and then I had to see her like 2 days later, and then I was like anxious, and I was like, totally my bad that I like. She didn't even come up to say anything to me, but I was like, totally my bad. Didn't think about texting Tim, like, but I need to call your office. Yeah, and she just kind of was like, okay.
So that's where I get in trouble. Is like I don't know if I said it in the green room or on the show already, but I get myself in trouble because my business partners and friends and family, like. They'll text me, shout out to the Bremer team and Dawn Bremer, but I'm gonna put you on blast. So until I drew the line in the sand, I'd get an email at like 11 o'clock at night or like a text or a phone call like, hey, I need my dental card, for tomorrow. Now, granted, she was never expecting me to answer right then, but my own anxiety is like, oh my God, I got to get her card right now. Knowing damn well she's not at the dentist right now or whatever it is. Like It can wait until tomorrow. But, anyhow, then I find myself answering questions and doing things outside of our process. And then that gets me in trouble with Sally, but then it'll also get us in trouble at work because then if we don't follow the process, maybe I didn't put it on the calendar and then she schedules someone else during that time and it just kind of screws everything up. So, I get myself in trouble, by doing that. So even though I don't work in off hours, I'm still like looking at emails because I have that anxiety inside me. That's like, oh my God, what if someone needs something, knowing that there's nothing that I can do anyways, but I just want to be on top of things and know what's going on.
Yeah. Like Rich was kind of going through that with his emails and stuff because he has Steph's books emails. So he has his email plus our support email on his phone. And then where he works, he has 2 or 3 emails of theirs, then plus his personal emails on his phone. And so it was getting overwhelming after a while to the point where it was affecting his sleep. So now at a certain time, his work emails for both Steph's books and where he works goes on mute. Like there's just nothing So it,
Yeah.
it doesn't prevent the stuff from coming through. So if he did look at it, they'll populate,
Yeah.
but they won't auto alert you when they come through.
Yeah. So I
he has
turn
that
my
silent.
alerts off so I don't see like because it drives me nuts when I see like, so currently Sally has 473 unread emails in her personal email box. I know because like and I don't know,
That's
like
oddly specific, Tim.
I can show you, but but so it's because it drives me nuts. Like I can't see like the red one. Like if there's a system software update on my phone, it's got the one, like I have to update my phone right now. I just can't see it. Facebook, Messenger, email, whatever. So I thought I would trick myself and just turn the alerts off on my emails. But now all I do is just go to my email. And so I know there's nothing there, but I'm still checking it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I mean,
I
I think on my email, because I don't ever clear out that other folder, you know, how you have like your inbox and then you have that other folder. And I don't think I've ever cleaned it out. And I think there's like 2,400 unread emails in there.
Mhm.
But I'm going through it. Like I might get an assistant though.
Sally says, don't talk about my email. Don't email Sally if you're looking for a quick response. Call the office. That's when you'll get a response.
Yeah, because I think on my voicemail on my cell phone, it says if it's an emergency to email support@stephsbooks.com.
Sure.
Well, because then like everybody in the company, all four of us, have access to that email.
Mhm.
So like if I'm not available, there's times where Valerie Melanie will jump in and respond and say, hey, Steph is, you know, at an appointment she can't get back to you. There's something I help you with or whatever.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of like the benefit of having that communal email for that one.
Yeah.
But after you do the email, then you're supposed to move it to the completed folder. You can't leave. That one has to be cleaned out every day.
Yeah. Okay.
So like
we have some email occasionally. So again, because my true feeling and very small part of Sally's contributions to our company is really the frontline communication with all of our clients, whether it's email or phone or whatever. But again, I kind of get like step on her toes a little bit and I'll send a response. Right. And then
so Sally says that the work emails on
yeah. So there's nothing unanswered because I won't allow it. Our personal email, our work email, we have to respond. But that's what I was getting at. So sometimes I will like respond from my phone when I shouldn't be working. Right. And this is what gets me in trouble because then she'll go to work and she'll respond to that email that I already responded to, but she doesn't know that I did.
Oh, it doesn't have the little swoosh thing?
No, it does. But because I'm not supposed to be working.
Oh.
So it shouldn't be, there shouldn't have been a response. So occasionally we step on each other's toes, but it's all in with good intentions. And it's just because we want to get back to our clients and be thorough and communicate with them.
I guess I could tell when like Rich has downtime sometimes, like during the slow season, because then he'll see like emails come through that he thinks are important, not knowing that I'm already working on the stuff, and he'll forward me the email that I already have to make sure that I know to respond. And I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah. I'll read it and then unread it. So it's back there again. And then she'll tell me like, so-and-so emailed. I'm like, yeah, I know. I already read it and I unread it and I let you take care of it. But again, it's all with good intention and just because it just is what it is. We want to get back as soon as we can. I guess the response time. So, the overall conversation about response time is we have set process and boundaries and things in place, but we do occasionally work outside of that. Being self-employed, like we obviously cherish like every person who is giving us their time and trust. So I want to make sure that we keep that. But my phone isn't ringing at all hours and not on the weekends because we have put up those boundaries like within working hours. Right. Yeah. So whereas when I first started, if I had to run an appointment at 9 o'clock at night, it was what it was. We don't have to do that anymore. So we don't. I don't know.
So it sounds like Maggie can have her alerts on.
Yeah,
she can work on it. But like I feel like because I have dual monitors, so if I'm working and then like you'll hear like my phone alert because my emails and everything are on my phone too. So my phone will alert, my watch will vibrate, and then my computer will alert for the email coming through. And then like so some days it's like back to back to back and you don't know because like it's the same sound for emails and text. I never set different sounds. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so like sometimes Valerie Millie would be like, what's going on in there? Because it'll just be like back to back, like just like beeping. And then I get anxious, and then I start going down a rabbit hole and start looking at emails. And I'm like, no. I got to get focused, and I got to do the time blocking. I found that the time blocking is best because then I'm super focused on the response that I'm providing, which is going to give the most information, and it's going to show that that the care is there versus me responding on the fly and having like fragmented sentences or weird abbreviations that only like I would know.
Right.
Like my shorthand.
Right. Let's see here. So Maggie, let's see. Yeah, she said that she's working on something else she can ignore. You got better willpower than me.
Janice says that she uses your read and unread tactic. And she has different sounds. Yeah. I don't know. I just ever since I've had this phone, I think I've had this phone for like 2 years now. And I don't think I've changed anything. Like
I don't think I've had the sound on my phone in 8 years.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have it on vibrate. I don't have it do anything.
Well, then how do you know when someone's calling?
I know, right? It's crazy.
Does it just flash?
Yes.
Oh.
It does. So I don't know. It's just I don't know. I guess I'm probably on my phone more than I'm probably on my phone already when it starts ringing.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know, like after 9:30, I'll turn my sound off on my phones.
Yeah, we do have a do not disturb, but I don't know why when I don't have a ringer on.
Oh yeah, no, I'll turn that off. But so when we had our job ad posted, somebody called me at 3:00 in the morning to apply for the job, and so my ringer was off on my phone, but my watch was connected to whatever the charger, which was on like a table, so I could hear the watch vibrating, and it woke me up for some odd reason, and then I couldn't fall back asleep because like I panicked because who would be calling me at 4:00 in the morning? But what does Sally say? Off topic?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm on the board of Addie's soccer league, and she does have indoor soccer tonight, and she needs to wear orange, Sally. She needs to wear her orange jersey. Oh, and isn't that funny how long ago people had ringtones and download them, and now people's phones don't even ring, just text me. Yeah, I know. People had callback tones. Remember that? Like people would be like, "Oh no!" When you called someone instead of a voicemail, or while it was ringing, it'd be like, "Listen to this callback tone," and it'd be something
whatever
horrible.
The hit of the week was.
Yeah, and then ringtones.
Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, well, I mean, like if Gavin calls me versus texts me, I get nervous because he never calls me.
Oh my God, what's the emergency?
Right. Yeah. Like I'm sure it's probably similar for Gabe. I mean, he's in that age bracket where he'll text you or Snapchat you or something before he'll call you.
Matter of fact, last night we went to what was it? McHenry's Next. We did axe throwing in McHenry. I forget what the place is called, but it was fun. And like right when we got there, my phone's ringing and it's Gabe. And we just left him like a few minutes ago. Oh my God, like what's going on? And he's like, yeah, what temperature do I set the oven to make the pizzas? I can't find the temperature on the cardboard or whatever. It's like, yeah, okay, don't call me about it.
Just text me.
You know how many pizzas have you made, dude? Like, you don't remember? It's 400. Like, whatever, just pick one.
That's funny. But yeah, we I don't know, like my mom, like for family, my mom will always answer the phone. Like if I call her at work, and sometimes like given her job, she's not supposed to be, with the phone because it's dangerous. But she'll step out and take the call. Like if me or my brother call her at any time during her workday, she will take the call. Like she will step out and she will remove herself and take the call.
Yeah.
And if she can't really talk, she'll say, is it an emergency? And if I say no, then she'll be like, okay, I'll call you back in 15 minutes. But she'll never not answer the phone when me or my brother call. Like usually if the kids call, I'll answer the phone.
Yeah.
Rich, probably like 60% of the time I'll answer the phone.
It's crazy because so for work, I can't stand the voicemail thing, right? Like I have to hear what they have to say. But when like friends or family call my cell phone, I'm like, let the voicemail pick it up. Like text me, like I'll get back to you. I don't know when I get back to you.
Yeah. I don't know. It just makes me nervous because I don't get like Gavin, like I said, he'll text me. So like it's not often when I'll get a call from him.
Yeah.
Or like if the school calls, like I answer it like on the second ring. Like I'll stop a meeting and I'll answer the phone.
So do you use is your cell phone your business line too?
Well, we have 3 phone lines. Well, we
Okay.
have so my cell phone is the one that's on my business card, and
Got
that's the one that was the number 1 line when we first started the business. And now since we've expanded, we have like a phone number on our website that forwards to my cell phone. And then Valerie and Melanie each have their own line in the office for people to call back.
So do you just answer your phone? Obviously, you don't know the numbers calling you when they're new people. You just answer your phone.
I answer it.
Or do you if I don't know the number, I like Google it. I'll copy and paste it and see if I can figure out who it is.
I do that.
Yeah.
I'll copy and paste it. But if I answer the phone, I just say, hello, this is Stephanie and whatever. And then they'll be like, some people will be like, oh, is this the bookkeeping or some people will be like, oh, is this Steph with Steph's Books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I answer the phone. This is Tim. And my mom's like, it's your mom. I know. Like, you don't have my number saved? No, of course. That's just how I answer the phone.
I just say that I'm not, I just say, oh, I didn't look at my phone. If I'm like, oh, like if I'm not supposed to say, like, this is Stephanie, or I don't know, or there's been times where, like, before where I would answer the phone for like my old, like an old employer, like not since I opened up Steph's Books, but like when I went from working at Burger King to working at McDonald's, and I was working the drive-through, and I was like only a couple weeks in at McDonald's, I would be like, oh, welcome to Burger King, blah blah blah, and like I would get in trouble all the time. I'm like, I don't know.
Should answer your phone like that now on occasion.
And just be like,
this is Burger King.
Just see what people have to say. I feel like that could be a good option. We're gonna try that. What's Sally say?
She said, it's funny, the only phone I answer is our work phone, pretty much. Yeah. So
Sally's a texter.
She is a texter, and it's not because she doesn't like to talk on the phone or talk in general. Like, if you know Sally, she'll talk and talk and talk. But it's because we have 3 wild and crazy kids that keep her very occupied from the moment she walks in the door until the moment she puts them to bed. So if she starts a conversation, even with me, Julian from the back of the house, like, Mom, I need whatever, or Addie will come out, or they just have no, especially if it's me, they have no problem interrupting whatever's going on.
Yeah. Well, so Eli, if I'm on the phone, he'll come up to me and he'll like pretend like he's mouthing something to try and like ask me a question without like being loud, but he doesn't actually like mouth the words that he's trying to say. He just moves his mouth in some weird way, and I'm like, I'm like, what did you just say to me?
That's funny.
But yeah. Oh, we're in the last couple minutes of the show, so now it's time for what did you learn? So anybody in the audience, you're more than welcome to participate, and you just have to say one thing that you learned, whether it's something about the actual show topic or about one of the guests or about one of the listeners.
Well, it looks like, so Sally says, looks like we need a process for communication with our kids. They think everything is urgent. And honestly, that's actually a great takeaway. We didn't talk about like family or like, that type of response time. We kind of touched on it, but we do set up a lot of process and things like with our business and even our friends and as business owners with like our colleagues. But we can actually go a long way of like relieving a lot of our stress if our kids knew when it was okay to like interrupt or what was actually urgent and what's not with them.
Yeah.
And then we have Lisa Schumacher, set boundaries. And Maggie, most things can wait. That's a great tagline for a business.
Most things can wait. Well, yeah,
just kidding. This is Maggie with E-Assistant. Most things can wait. Just kidding, Maggie.
Gabe and his friends ever just like pop in at your office like after school or no, not really? No,
you know what? He's always been very respectful of our office space and not knowing what he would be walking into. On a rare occasion when he was at the freshman campus right down the street after school, if he needed a ride home, he'll come down there. But most of the time they're actually very respectful of our business. It's just, they're so respectful of our business time that the personal time that we have with them, they're completely disrespectful about it because they only get us so much. Because we do a lot in the community and a lot in our business.
Yeah, we get in trouble, me and Rich do, if we're doing too much shop talk at home about something. And so we'll get in trouble. And Eli will threaten to throw my computer my laptop in the garbage. and stuff, or Gavin just he'll roll his eyes and like walk out of the room and then go back into his room, and I won't see him for like 12 hours. So that I missed my window of opportunity to talk to him for the day. Then he'll go back into his cave. But yeah. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming to the show. Thanks so much for all you guys and all your comments. It was a pretty fast hour, I think.
It was.
So next week we're gonna do verbiage. So that could be, slang for your industry or industry, specific things that you have to break down into layman's terms, or I guess how you communicate with your clients as well. Like, do you ever swear in front of your clients or not swear in front of your clients? Or do you, wait for that? If they swear first, then you're like, oh, well, okay. Like, so that'll be next week. So we'll see if anybody wants to come and be on that show. Just reach out and I guess have a good weekend.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thanks.